A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Chapter 5, verses 1 to 20. They came to the other side of the sea, to the territory of Gerasenes. When he got out of the boat, at once a man from the tombs, who had an unclean spirit, met him. The man had been dwelling among the tombs, and no one could restrain him any longer, even with a chain. In fact, he had frequently been bound with shackles and chains, but the chains had been pulled apart by him, and the shackles smashed. No one was strong enough to subdue him. Night and day, among the tombs and on the hillsides, he was always crying out, bruising himself with stones. Catching sight of Jesus from a distance, he ran up and prostrated himself before him, crying out in a loud voice, "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I adjure you by God, do not torment me." He had been saying to him, "Unclean spirit, come out of the man." He asked him, "What is your name?" He replied, "Legion is my name. There are many of us." And he pleaded earnestly with him not to drive them away from that territory. Now a large herd of swine was feeding there on the hillside. And they pleaded with him, "Send us into the swine, let us enter them." And he led them, and the unclean spirits came out and entered the swine. The herd of about 2,000 rushed down a steep bank into the sea, where they were drowned. The swineherds ran away, reported the incident in the town and throughout the countryside, and people came out to see what had happened. And they approached Jesus. They caught sight of the man who had been possessed by legion, sitting there clothed and in his right mind. And they were seized with fear. Those who witnessed the incident explained to them what had happened to the possessed man and to the swine. Then they began to beg him to leave their district. As he was getting into the boat, the man who had been possessed pleaded to remain with him, but he would not permit him, but told him instead, "Go home to your family and announce to them all that the Lord in his pity has done for you." Then the man went off and began to proclaim in the Decapolis what Jesus had done for him, and all were amazed. The Gospel of the Lord. My dear brothers and sisters, the Gospel today is a frightening account what evil can do to us. Evil possessing a man. You know, when we say evil, often we have a picture of the devil, a dark figure with two horns and a tail. Well, that is the artist's way of picturing devil. That's not what devil is. The devil is the evil power of hatred, jealousy, greed, lust, and you name it. Everything that drags us away from God. When we are dragged away from God, what happens to us? That's what happened to this man Gerasene demoniac. Always among the tombs, night and day, crying aloud, bruising himself, could not be chained at all, uncontrollable, destroying himself, graphically describing for us the enormity of destruction caused by evil in human life. And evil comes to us as a little pleasure, unjustified pleasure, a little gain, unjust gain, a little freedom, unwarranted freedom, a little gain and freedom and pleasure and security. But then we grab it. The moment we grab it, we become a slave to it. The hatred that enters into us, the greed that creeps into our hearts, and the lust that we give opening into our hearts. All these powers of evil, once they enter into our hearts, they begin to work in our hearts and leads us to frightening consequences that are beyond our control. Gerasene demoniac gives us an evidence of this frightening consequences. Have you seen a man who hates the things that he talks, the way he behaves, and the beautiful relationships are shattered? And lust, once lust enters into our hearts, it enters into our hearts in all different ways of love and sentiment and emotion and affection. But once it enters into our hearts, the way it will destroy all our commitments, beautiful family relationships, and jealousy and greed. And that's why St. Paul is warning us, do not allow hatred opening to your hearts. Why does evil come in? Jesus said it, warning us. John 10:10, evil comes in to destroy, to plunder, and to kill. The Gerasene demoniac tells us very clearly the frightening consequences of evil, and therefore it's a warning for us to be aware, never to allow even a bit of sin to enter into us, to destroy us. A second thing about this incident that should open our hearts. Jesus goes to the other side of the sea, to the Gerasenes. It's a pagan territory, that means non-Jewish territory, just for this Gerasene demoniac. He goes there and heals him and comes back to this side. The personal care Jesus has to everyone enslaved in distress. My brother, my sister, you could be enslaved to the power of drugs, to the power of hatred, to the power of alcoholism, to the power of an unholy relationship, whatever evil power, before that power shows its dark teeth, sharp, dark teeth tearing you apart. Accept the Lord. Turn to Him. Find your salvation in Him. The Lord is inviting us. He's ready to come all the way. As He came all the way to the territory of the Gerasenes, personal care of the Lord, of the Good Shepherd, to save you and me. Let not the powers of evil tear us apart. The Lord is come to save us. Amen.